a level, if I'm a level 2 in discipline, let's say, I identify with most of these things and maybe a few here and a few on the other side. And my goal, if I'm a level 2, these are probably not great goals. I might be shooting for something up here. So I might be shooting for goals in the number 4 block. And we see that finally, once we get to number 5 here, is that it becomes contagious. So we're transferring that to someone else. We have enough gratitude to where that's contagious to another person. But let's talk about what these things actually mean from a behavioral perspective. And just before we do that, let me just illustrate, just in case anyone has any questions, that I'm going to just put a little tick mark next to each one of these that applies to me. If I have 3 or 4 here and 3 or 4 here, and I have 5 right here, then that's my rating. I'm a level 4 on gratitude. So I would be, most of my tick marks are here. So my goal setting for the year, or for my 6-month goal setting, would be right over in this box. So this is literally, this one page PDF took me 20 years to put together. And the reason that some of you have read some of my earlier stuff that was written as early as like 9 months ago, and today it looks a little bit different, is because everything that I'm doing, I'm updating with scientific research, medical journals, and psychology research and sociology research, and feedback from people who are using this stuff to make it easier to understand and make it more accurate and results based. So if you've took this in a course a year ago, you'll see way different stuff on here than there was a year ago, just because the data. I continuously change all of the stuff that I'm doing to make it better. But this is it. So that's the assessment. And this will be your homework for tonight, to go through this and figure out, where am I on the 1 to 5 and where do I need to be? And I think I can click, there we go. So when it comes to what we're doing on a daily basis, that stuff matters too. So let's talk about this. The goals that we're setting from here are also, we're going to start with confidence. And the best way that I can describe the fastest method to achieve confidence is called role application. So I'm applying myself a role. So assign yourself a role in every conversation before it starts. So it's my job here to make the other person feel interesting. Or in this conversation, my number one job is to make someone feel powerful. My job here is to talk to them and discover what their needs are. And this works in 2 ways. It lets you plan ahead, and where you don't feel like you're going in blind. And it gives you a reason to be there. It keeps your mind focused on the role that you defined for yourself. So I want you to imagine, if you're in whatever town you're in. Some of you guys, like me, live in kind of country towns. I want you to imagine the extremely expensive store that's nearest to you, like a Louis Vuitton, something where everything, like you want to buy a wallet, it's going to be like $3,000. Just going into a store like that would make a lot of people uneasy, especially if you're not intending to buy something or you probably can't afford anything. It makes us feel different. And I'm sure you can think of a million scenarios where that might be applicable. If you do have that kind of money, there's still scenarios where that might be applicable. So, you know, you can't afford anything in there. So you walk in and you kind of feel like an imposter. But if your boss asked you to take his platinum card and go purchase something in that store for the company as a gift to maybe somebody who's visiting, you'd be massively confident walking into the store. The discomfort disappeared because of the role that you're living as you entered the store. So the role gave you permission. So think of how you best communicate and build your roles that you assign to yourself around the strengths that you have to begin with. As you're leveling up the spots that we're weak on, start leaning on those strengths and build your roles out of what your strengths are on this map that we talked about, this assessment. So I think confidence really looks and sounds different to everybody. And you need to define what confidence is for you because there's not a universal definition. So, what does it look like and what does it feel like? I really want you to understand how confidence feels on a physical level. So, that's worth taking 10, 15 minutes tonight as absorbing whatever news you watch or whatever you do in the evenings. Really contemplate how would I feel if I was confident? How would my body look? What would my face look like if I felt a 10 out of 10 on confidence? So would it be I'm comfortable standing on the red carpet in Hollywood, or what is it like I feel completely comfortable climbing Mount Everest? Those are confidence for two very different people. The guy climbing Mount Everest would probably still feel confident on the red carpet because he's done more than anyone else there. The guy on the red carpet, or girl, woman, might not feel the same on Mount Everest. So, what drives your definition of confidence? So, I think there are about 7 things that people typically focus around when they're thinking about their own confidence. And that is, and I'm going to give you these notes tonight as well. And that is achievement, social skills, recognition, reactions from other people, like compliments and things like that, ability to stay comfortable, I'm comfortable under pressure, or convincing people that I'm confident. That's a whole different thing. So, what's truly confident for you? I want to know what your traits are. I want you to know and understand what your desires are. And we talked yesterday about the quote from Jim Rohn, like we're the average of the people we hang out with. The fastest way to personal growth in the field of confidence is eliminating negative people in your life. And sometimes you can't avoid them. That's just life. Sometimes you've got to make larger sacrifices and say, I'm going to end a relationship or something. But sometimes it's your Aunt Vicky who always comes into town and bitches about everything that's going on in her life. And that kind of soaks into you. And what I would say about people that you can't get rid of is schedule as much as you can to get them at their best. You want to spend time with them when they're at their best. Second is compliments. I want you to be able to give compliments to people in social situations, and I'm talking about strangers most of the time. And I think this has 2 effects. It gives you social prowess, like these people skills, and it also makes you feel good. So next is fitness. And all I'll say about this is not some Zumba class or anything, but just try to do one thing every day that's good for yourself because it affects you psychologically. And I'm not saying that exercise increases oxytocin and serotonin, dopamine, blah, blah, blah. I don't even give a crap about that stuff. Just being a person who exercises makes you act differently in public. And that's proven. Just knowing that I exercise and this person I'm talking to probably doesn't do that makes you act differently. But I want you to remember that humans are loss averse. We're averse to feelings of loss. So when you're hesitant, you're reserved, you're unsure, I want you to recognize that that's programming from evolution. It's not real. And next, do everything you can to share your insecurities. And you heard that right. If you have something that you can't fix, then you feature it. If you can't fix it, feature it. In 1969, Volkswagen ran an ad in every major magazine in the country. People were, the Beetle was starting to get really popular, the Volkswagen Beetle. And people were complaining that it's ugly, it's slow, it's noisy, and it's expensive. And they ran an ad with a picture of the Volkswagen Beetle, obviously in black and white. But right above the vehicle, there were just 4 words on the page in giant black bold letters. It said ugly, noisy, slow, expensive. And then gave you a few features about the car. But those were in all bold. And it was a very effective advertising campaign. So whatever you can't fix, you feature. And I think this has some very good positive effects here because people like imperfect people. We're attracted to imperfect people. If there was no, if kryptonite did not exist, we would all hate Superman. He would be boring and predictable. Number 2, it takes all power away from other people to use it against you. And finally, on the sneaky side, it provides a very good window for someone to provide you with reassurance in a social context. Next, while we're talking about discipline, self-confidence, and all this other stuff, it just came to mind, but I want you to start taking or try to take cold showers. This sounds ridiculous, but this tricks your brain into confidence automatically. You get out of bed in the morning and you get to face a demon at the beginning of each day and then conquer it. And there's some serious psychological benefits to this. For the rest of the day, you've conquered a beast already. Your confidence will stay with you and you carry that with you. It's proven scientifically to increase your immune function, to decrease depression, increase your metabolism, productivity, energy, smash fatigue, even increasing fertility and making your hair and skin look a little bit better. So make you sexier. There's a whole lot of articles on this. Please Google it later. I'm not a cold shower expert, but it does do a lot for you. And if you want, you can do what I do. I do what's called the James Bond shower. I start out in a hot shower, and over the course of about 60 seconds, I'll continuously wind it down to freezing cold. I don't go all the way down in around like December, January timeframe, though. I'm here in Virginia, and it's snowy and freezing cold. So next, aside from that, the other hack that I found to work, and these are all of the rapid fire tips that I know for a fact will work and have worked with the people that I've been training. The next one is shifting your voice, changing your voice. So confident people speak with a different tone. Just like you can adjust your whole body to change how you feel, you can do the same with your voice. So speaking as if I was confident or speaking in a confident way convinces you psychologically that there's confidence present. Just like we learn, or we can trick our mind by changing our body, we can trick our mind by changing our voice and the way that we're speaking. So next, and we're still in the confidence phase here. Download the app called Todoist, Todo, like to do, ist, ist. or something similar. Checking things off of lists is a surefire way to make you feel great about yourself and your abilities. This helps to prove what the brain needs all the time. We know the brain's craving something. We talked about it today and yesterday. The brain is craving evidence. So if I'm standing beside you, you and I are standing together in some social situation, and I say, "Hey, go do that thing over there," and you say, I don't know if I should. And I say, no, you need to go do it right now. The first thing your brain's going to do is to search for evidence if it worked for you in the past. Your brain is always looking for some kind of evidence. I can't do that. I've never done that before. I can't do that. I'm not sure how people are going to react. So it's scared that you're going to die. It's scared of saber-toothed tigers, even though they don't exist anymore. It's scared of a lot of things because of a lack of evidence. And especially in people with social anxiety, their brains, without them knowing, their brains are deliberately looking for negative information to keep them safe. I'm going to find the aggressor. I'm going to find the threat in order to make sure that I'm safe in this scenario. When I coach politicians, I teach them to include these little pieces in their speech to identify with people who don't identify with them. So insecure, anxious people don't typically identify with confident politicians. So in order to get that into their head, you have to help them find the threat. You have to help them find the thing that could potentially hurt them. That's one of those things that wins over that scientifically 28% of the audience who isn't identifying with you because you're a confident person. So next is stopping uncertainty. So social uncertainty is more descriptive than social anxiety, I think. Anxiety means we don't know what the source is. Fear means that I know where it's coming from. Anxiety is generalized, like I'm anxious and I'm not sure what the source of that is. It's typically an irrational and completely untrue fear that you're going to embarrass yourself or you're going to be scrutinized in some social group. We know it's not logical, but we're not going to meditate our way out of 600 million years of evolution or 6 million years of evolution. You can't meditate your limbic system to just disintegrate itself and only give you positive stuff, but we can start showing it evidence. And that's what this is all about. I want you to remember when we talk about ego or anything like that, everyone does have an ego. The Dalai Lama has an ego. But I want you to remember that your ego is a 9-year-old kid. I want you to start viewing the ego as a 9-year-old. It does not evolve past that phase. And I want you to speak to it. And we obviously speak to that part of ourselves all the time. But I want you to speak to the ego like an understanding and compassionate adult, like Andy Griffith talking to Barney. And I want you to thank the ego for offering something. Like, I appreciate it. I appreciate the advice. That's not the case here. And here's why. Okay. As a quick note, one of the things the ego does a lot is make comparisons between you and other people. Don't compare someone else's chapter 10 to your chapter 1. And that's what social media forces us to do. That's what commercials and advertising force us to say, I need to be at that point. But in reality, we're looking at somebody's chapter 10 and we're on chapter 1 of our development. So I want to talk to you about our strongest social drive, the number one thing that drives our social behavior. And it's probably something that psychologists may disagree with. But the number one social drive of humans is to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. And the more that you're able to rewrite this and rephrase it, the more you'll have time and the more you'll have the thing the brain craves the most. And we know what the brain is craving right now is evidence. I can't feel that way until I have some evidence. So, like you guys heard Marcel Klein say just a bit ago, and I'm glad everybody enjoyed his talk. Keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And everyone's got a different comfort zone. For somebody in this chat right now, walking out the front door might be terrifying. And then 15 steps away from that person might be another person who standing up and doing a public speech or giving a briefing at work is a big deal or a big threat. And the big threat there, the reason public speaking is one of the biggest fears that people have is if I screw this up, I'm going to be like outcast from the tribe. And guess what? I'm not going to have sex. And it all goes back to that. It's survival and reproduction are the only two jobs we have on this entire earth as animals. That's what all animals have, is survive and reproduce. So a lot of our fears go back to survival or a lack of reproduction ability. So if you call yourself introverted, if you call yourself shy, if you call yourself unconfident or low status, your brain is going to work its ass off to find evidence for it. And I'll show you, I'll give you an example that you've actually experienced in your own life, unless you live in New York City. If you've ever bought a new car, you've had the feeling of like you go out on the street and you look around and you're like, wow, these things are everywhere. Everybody's following me. Everyone's copying me. But in reality, they were always there. I just bought a new truck. It's a Dodge. It's a white Dodge pickup truck. And I go out on this truck now and I'm seeing them all over the earth. They're everywhere. But I never noticed them until I got the truck. So when I can't tell my brain something's important, but I can show it that something is important. That mammalian brain, how am I going to tell my dog about my truck? What if I sat on the couch and I wanted to tell my dog about, I just got a new truck? And I describe it and I tell the dog about these floor mats that are in there. They're waterproof. They're real great. It stops automatically if someone slows down in front of you. It's got all this cool stuff in there. And the dog's just going to sit there thinking about pooping and eating, most likely. It has no idea. But if I take it out there and I show it, I'm giving it evidence. The dog can see it. She can smell it. She knows what it is. So she will probably know the difference. If I put her in a Chevy truck, she'll know that it's not a Dodge truck. She knows when something is important to me because I'm showing it over and over and over. And that's the same way that we are communicating that something is important to our subconscious. I buy the truck and I'm getting in there and getting in it and getting in it and looking at it. I spent weeks probably looking at it on the internet. So my brain that doesn't speak any language at all, that can't understand me talking, is finally seeing like, oh, that's important to Chase. I'm going to look for that because he told me that's important. But we can't tell our brain anything. We can only show it. So please keep that in mind. Our number one social drive is staying consistent with how we define who we are. And your brain, no matter what, negative or positive, is going to work its ass off to find proof and to find evidence. So next, keep every single promise that you make to yourself. And this pattern starts with our to-do lists. We use Todoist all the time. That's my favorite app in the world. I use this daily. It even has what's called karma in the app. So if I'm completing stuff, it gives you a little reward. It gives you like a little icon that tells you that you're a great human being. So it's giving you dopamine by completing your to-do lists. So I think confidence is a stellar reputation with yourself. Above all else, we talked about it being safety and all this other stuff. It's a reputation with yourself. And this is the pathway to do that. And I have no doubt this is going to be the strongest technique to blow up your confidence is keeping promises to yourself. And we typically, let me mute everybody. I've got a button on my machine for that. I think it worked. So we get, some people get addicted to other people's approval. And they do that because they don't approve of themselves. So, what I'd like to suggest is that future regret should drive your actions today. Whether or not you're going to get the most out of this course, and if you were here yesterday, you've already got hopefully a 10x ROI on your investment. And I want you to think about the rest of this, and I want you to think about regretting stuff in the future and how that can drive your actions today. You don't have time not to do this. I'll just say that. If you look around, everybody, especially if you study any of my body language stuff, everybody is secretly sad. And they're sad that they didn't go for it in hundreds of memories. We have a head that's full of memories of regret that we didn't do something that we wish we did. You do not need permission. And I'm going to keep saying that. So you invested in this course for you, for your outcomes. Although about probably 10% of the people who come to my courses are other coaches who just repeat everything I say in their in their trainings, which is fine. But would you in 2 years be happy that you took this all in and made it a skill? Or would you be pissed off that you didn't pull it all into your heart and soul and actually do all of this stuff? That's what I mean by this future regret thing. So I want you just to remember that confidence is not a personality trait. It is a skill. Confidence is a skill. So there's a few rules of confidence, and I'm going to give them to you kind of rapid fire here. Let me grab a sip of water. And I want you to be able to take these to heart. And these are according to Chase Hughes, these rules of confidence. So who the hell am I? But let's take a look. Number 1, and there's 4 of these. Realize everyone else is faking it. You know how you got that big promotion at work? You remember when you walked across the stage and got your college diploma and you felt, holy shit, I'm not an expert in psychology. I'm not an expert in business administration. I've tricked everybody. I've tricked the entire freaking world. And I hope they don't find out. Everyone you've ever met also feels the same. We just don't talk about it. Everybody else feels like they're faking it. Number 2, set expectations of generalized positive outcomes. Number 3, realize that the worst case scenario is usually not a big deal. And number 4, appearance matters. The world is shallow. Get over it. You're not going to fix it. I'll give you a couple of tips, really, just for when we're talking about appearance. The first one is KT tape. KT as in Kilo Tango with the word tape after it, like cassette tape. It's a sticky tape that's probably about this long, and you can get it at Walgreens. Somebody just asked what was number 3 again. the worst case scenario is usually not a big deal. So KT tape is made for physiotherapists to like stretch out skin muscles and stuff. It's got big stretchy part in the middle. It's two sticky ends on it. So like if I need to stretch out my pec, somebody might put an end right here and then stretch my muscle up and then tape the other end all the way around here back on my shoulder blade. So it kind of, that's what it's designed for. But if you slouch, it can help you. So if you sit up really straight and put a piece of KT tape, one up here and one down here, and kind of draw an X on your body sitting up really straight, the moment you start slouching, it's going to stretch your skin on your back and remind you to walk with posture. And I think the rule that I typically give for good posture is head over heart and heart over pelvis. And that's how I think most of us should live. And even while you're seated, a cool hack that I do in the car, I will sit up really straight in the driver's seat, and I will adjust the rear view mirror to where I can see it only when I'm sitting up straight. So the moment you slouch and you look up and you like, oh, I can't see anything, it's going to force you to keep sitting up. So all we're doing is getting in some reps to become more aware of our personal posture. There's a research study that was conducted, and there's actually several, that posture actually corrects back problems and neck pain, but there's a million more researches that say appearance matters more than almost anything else. Appearance and confidence are kind of the main things. On that authority triangle that we looked at, that little Illuminati looking triangle thing that I made, appearance and confidence are the only things that appear on the triangle twice. There's studies out there that say you're more likely to get a shorter jail term sentence. You're more likely to be found innocent by a jury. You're more likely to get a job. You're more likely to get a raise. You're more likely to start a brand new job with more money and all kinds of other stuff. That appearance does matter. And it's not just like, oh, I need to go get plastic surgery. Just the appearance of overall health, like your skin looks healthy. And the number one indicator, you can go look this up if you want to. I did it for you. The number one indicator of overall health when we assess another human being is literally what they call shiny eyes. Are our eyes clean and shiny? And that's it. So that was such a powerful thing in the research that when I was doing interrogations or any kind of work for the government, I would carry like a little bottle of Visine with me, which is a vasoconstrictor and can also stop bleeding if you ever get a cut in your kitchen, as a quick note. So next, if we think of confidence as a transfer of permission and being something that's evidence-based, and we remember that the quote from yesterday, that there are no tigers, then we start to raise our confidence. And the moment our confidence goes up, our self-esteem goes up. And when we talk about self-esteem, that's just our reputation with ourselves. Confidence is what other people see. Self-esteem is what they can't. And people who have low self-confidence typically have a few common traits. And I've written down 10 of these. And I would like for you, maybe, where am I on these 10 traits and what can I get rid of? And it's easy as making a decision to get rid of it and then keeping track of it. So number one is trouble saying no to people. I can't say no to other people. Number two, indecision or overanalysis. Think about how confidence would help us with both of those things. Just forcing myself into confidence would eliminate those behaviors as a byproduct of becoming confident. I don't need to work on that specific behavior. If I just work on confidence, those behaviors go away on their own. Next is difficulty spending time alone. And you'll have all this in your notes for tonight too. Next is seeking reassurance from the environment and or social circle. After this is over apologizing, followed by a fear of failure. And after this is being overly critical of other people. And naturally following this is sensitivity to criticism. And an unlikely one to be on the list is fear of being interrupted. And the final two, a fear of subordination. And a fear of public judgment, which I think is maybe one of the top two fears. Trouble saying no and fear of public judgment, I think, are the top two. So I think confidence triggers authority tripwires on its own as a byproduct. So if you think about the way somebody who's confident naturally moves without this reservation or hesitation, that's going to trip the movement tripwire and the appearance tripwire and the confidence tripwire all by itself. So we're almost all the way to the end here with just that. So the confidence and connection tripwires are set off by that behavior, and the sense of self-assurance makes it easier for the other tripwires to be tripped, the connection and intent. So I want you to just kind of think about what it might look like from someone else's perspective without having to worry too much about perfection. I think a lot of the people I've trained suffer some paralysis when they miss a day in their journal or they screw up one of their homework assignments or something, or they forget to fill out one of these checklists that I'm talking to you guys about. Perfection is literally impossible. So let's just be okay with that. And from just a visual only perspective, across an airport, how would someone know that you are confident? What would that look like? So in order, they would start seeing things like your posture. You have an erect but comfortable posture, head over heart, heart over pelvis. The general facial expression of enjoyment. And next is, might be unusual if you haven't been through my other courses, is relaxed lower eye muscles. These muscles right under here. Because if you think of the more fearful we are, the more skeptical we are, the more worried we are about what's around us, these muscles tighten up first. We get a little bit off put by what's going on around us. We want to search for things that might hurt us. These muscles go up. And other people can subconsciously see that. And they say, that's not a confident person. They don't know that they know that. Their mammalian brain knows it. So we're sending signals, what I call leakage, like there's a bunch of holes in the bucket. No matter how much behavior we do, we're sending these things out unconsciously all the time. They're comfortable and relaxed. Their arms, legs, hands, and fingers are relaxed. They also have a slow shutter speed. If you haven't been through the other courses, that means how often we blink. I'm sorry, how fast we blink, not how often. So a shutter speed for a fearful animal Let's go back to the Chihuahua and Rottweiler example for just a second. I want you to imagine the last time you saw a Chihuahua, how quick the eyelids snapped shut and popped back open, so that he's minimizing the time that he can scan for threats. The Rottweiler, who doesn't give a shit, will just relax the eyelid and then pull it back up when he feels like it. It's a slower eyelid speed. And what would happen if we deliberately made this into a practice? Then we're having the body start tricking the brain to feel a certain way. That's why I'm giving you this list. Slow body movements is next, like we're underwater. Next is lowered and relaxed shoulders. So the more fearful, I'm seeing a bunch of you lower your shoulders as I said that. The more fearful a person is, the higher the shoulders are going to go. We remember that fear makes our body protect arteries. So the relaxed shoulders, we're also tricking our body into becoming more confident. So a lot of times, this is probably, I might have written this later in the notes for tonight, but I'm going to put it out there. A lot of times, what we're trying to do, if we're looking at a brain, here's a brain. If we're looking at a brain, when we have a new idea, it's not permanent. So there's a neuron here that's got to talk to a neuron up here to tie our shoes. And initially, it's got to go through 16 highways. It's got to take 12 exits. It's got to go through 14 county roads that are only 35 miles an hour with speed traps. It's got to go through a big route to get up here. But over time, the brain says, this person, Chase, is doing this thing over and over again. I'm just going to build a new road between here and here. And that's how a habit is formed. So confidence, if it's a skill, then it's a habit. So what that means is, if we can do it one way, then we can do it another way. So what I mean by this is, let's say you have a social situation that usually creates some anxiety. You've done this training in confidence. You've gotten all these notes written down. You've started doing some daily homework. And the day that it happens, you take a muscle relaxer or you take a beta blocker. And if you don't know what a beta blocker is, it's for blood pressure or some people with heart disease or aortic valve disorders. But it's also called the public speaking drug. And these are both prescriptions. Talk to your doctor. I'm not a licensed therapist, whatever legal stuff I need to say. But if no matter what chemicals are in me, I'm causing neurons to start coming together. So when the chemicals are gone, the neurons are still together. So hopefully that makes sense. If you take something like a Wellbutrin or a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, that does not rewire neurons. That changes brain chemistry. And the moment the medicine is gone, you're right back to where you started. It doesn't help anything. So these medicines will help you exhibit confident behaviors. And what's it going to give you? Evidence. Our brain's running on evidence. So right there in that moment, I had permission to do this. I felt comfortable. I exhibited comfortable behavior, and no one pulled out a knife and killed me. I might do that next time. So that's just showing us that I did this one thing and I can do it again. So our brain, the currency of our brain is evidence in past behavior. So next, relaxed normal breathing into the abdomen instead of the chest. Walking with certainty and conviction. Remember, how would you walk with certainty and conviction, not be aggressive, and still move about underwater speed? Comfortable making physical contact with other people during conversation. So just this list I've given you, you could take this list to an airport and profile somebody 2 gates away and determine whether or not you were dealing with a confident person. And the final one here is reacts physically with genuine emotion to the emotional high points of other people's stories. So what does this mean? This is actually I have a course for women that I teach once a year on how to covertly identify narcissists and manipulators on a first date and other places. But one of the big indicators I teach to women is if you're telling something that's really exciting, like it's making your eyebrows go up like this while you're talking about it, that other person should show something similar in their face. If you're saying something that's really sad, like your aunt just got into a car accident or something bad happened, and you don't see it reflected, you don't see the sadness or some pain reflected on that person's face during that story, you're either dealing with a narcissist or a psychopath. And all psychopaths are narcissists, but not all narcissists are psychopaths. Just as a quick side note. So confidence is kind of hard to fake, like on an external level. So I would beg you to just let go of outcomes for a few days and prove it to yourself that knowing I'm going to be okay is not putting me in danger. And just be confident things are going to be okay. And I think some of the students I've had have taken that prescription, the beta blockers, and it's also called like a beta adrenergic blocking agent. But one of the most effective ones I've seen used in the intelligence world is called metoprolol. It's METOPROLOL. And for short-term situations, it's a 50 milligram. For long-term situations, it's a 100 milligram extended release tablet that works for about 11 hours. Talk to your doctor. I'm not a physician. I did not go to medical school, although I'm a neuroscientist. That doesn't give me any right to give you medical advice, which that was not. So, all the character traits of confidence can be summed up with that authority assessment that you already have. So, confidence is our first trait. Discipline's number 2. And I have discipline as number 2 because you can spot it from across an airport. Even with no training, in a crowded airport, let's say you and I were standing in LAX together, and I showed you around, there's 500 people around, and I said, find me a disciplined person. Could you do it? Bet your ass you could do it. It's pretty easy to spot, like, that guy has a lot of discipline. Something about discipline comes out of us, even from across an airport. Of course, it comes in tenfold when we're in a conversation. So I think if we're going to talk about discipline here for just a couple minutes, self-discipline simply means the ability to impose your will on yourself. And I'll give you the Chase Hughes definition number 2. So imposing your will on yourself. But here's the softer Mary Poppins definition, but still just as true. The ability to prioritize the needs of your future self ahead of your own. Me in the future matters more than me now. And that's it. If you make that one tiny shift in mindset, your entire life will change. Your financial decisions will change. Your diet decisions, your lifestyle, whether or not you make your bed, all of those tiny little things will shift. So if I'm more concerned with the outcome of my future self than present self, I'm able to be more confident. I'm able to take a little more risk because I care about the future reward more than me suffering temporarily right now. And we'll get into that in a second. But it's finishing what you start, exercising self-restraint when you're faced with something that might not be in your best interest, and the ability to control your behavior, delay gratification. I think that's the hallmarks of discipline. But in Chase Hughes terminology, that means you're 2 things for yourself. I'm a butler and a disciplinarian for myself. And that gives me the power of discipline. And I want to say that the power of being your own butler there's no way I could understate that or overstate that. When your current self's always thinking of your past tense self, it should be gratitude, not being pissed off. So has your past tense self ever left you a sink full of nasty dishes? Has your past tense self ever gone to bed super late and that person didn't give a shit what time you had to wake up? Or did they make you get into an unmade bed that evening? Did they create a really crappy financial situation for you? So the moment that we get to a point of looking backwards with gratitude to our past tense self, we have discipline. We have achieved discipline. And I would recommend almost getting into a romantic relationship of love with your future self, where you prioritize their needs above your own. And what if I want to say that to my brain? Can I? We can't use words. There's a lot of things we can start doing that are really small. So, step one, I want you to take a note card or take something like this, fold it in half, and we're in the middle of summer right now. I want you to write a note on it to your future self and stick it in a winter coat pocket so that your future self is going to find a love letter, whatever it is. Thanks for being awesome. I hope you had a great summer, whatever it is. Hope your Halloween was wonderful. But I want you to surprise your future self with a note because you're going to forget about it and you're going to find it and you're going to get dopamine and gratitude from you. From you, not anybody else. So that would be maybe step one. Step two is tiny things, just small little things. Could you pick out your entire outfit tonight for tomorrow and lay it out as if there was a butler living in your house? And you're your own butler now. Or I have a Keurig coffee maker. One of those things you put the little pods in. And before I go to bed, I throw the old one away. I put a brand new thing in there. I get it ready to shut, and I put the cup under there. And Sarah is my COO and my girlfriend. And I think she's in the group now, but I literally say things out loud like, Chase is going to love this shit. I literally say things like that all the time, talking about me in the future in third person, because I want to always force that mindset into me. So I actually say weird crap like that out loud. If there was like a reality show here, I'd probably be made fun of a lot, but it's very helpful. It's extremely helpful just to do small things and say, future whoever, future John, future Judith, future Fred is going to love this, and they're going to love it. And they're going to look back on me now with gratitude. So I'm looking forward with concern and backwards with gratitude, and that's discipline. That's all discipline is. Forward concern, backward gratitude. And a couple other things that you can do to help your brain start thinking future self is more important is go download the app on the App Store. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called Face App. But you can take a selfie and it ages you to the point of looking like you're 99. It really ages your face somehow. It uses AI or whatever. But take a picture of you and make you look way older, and then print it out and put it on your refrigerator. Put it on your pantry door. Put it on your bathroom mirror, or put it on your pack of cigarettes, or whatever else you need to be thinking about your future self in that scenario. So you're not just thinking about your future self, you're looking at them like I'm going to be there one day and I'm going to take care of that person. I want their skin to look like this. I want them to feel like this. I want them to have this much money. So we're building a mammalian brain relationship with that person now, not just thinking about it on a regular basis. We're convincing the dog in our head that that person is now important. So this Butler concept might just be a few minutes of discussion, but I think that it's so powerful. I think that it's worth spending a lifetime harnessing and growing just that one thing alone as a personal practice. The disciplinarian side is going to step in immediately when you feel tired. You want to throw your clothes on the floor. You feel like staying up a little late to finish binge watching Game of Thrones. The disciplinarian takes over. It's not, or you could say it's just a butler who's really rude, who comes in and says, "You're not doing that. You have to be up at 7 a.m. Your future self is more important." Or when you roll over sideways to hit the snooze button for the 38th time, the disciplinarian comes in and says, "Your future self is going to be pissed off. I slept in." Usually, when people say, "I slept in," they're like, "I'm sorry." It's tied in with an apology or some kind of regret, or "I overslept today." And I think there's a lot of people that assume that they need more discipline to do things throughout their lives. We see people going to the gym. We see people working out every day, eating all the vegetables and green juice and all this other stuff. And we've all heard, if we haven't said it, we've heard our friends say, "Man, I wish I had that level of discipline." That's not discipline. It's not. It's a habit. Discipline is what starts the habit. The habit is what continues the habit. So all you need is about a tablespoon of discipline to get a habit started. So discipline is a finite resource, yes, but you need less than you think. Those people who are like cranking it out at the gym all the time or eating super healthy, it's just a habit that you're witnessing. You didn't see the discipline part at the beginning. You're seeing the habit part somewhere in the middle. So it's no longer discipline. Like I wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and you guys might say, "Oh, I wish I had that discipline to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning." That's not discipline. My body's awake whether I like it or not. I can't even go back to sleep. I think the latest I've slept in the last 5 years is like 7 a.m. So, and that's not because I'm disciplined. I was disciplined a long time ago, and it's just a habit now. So it needs no work on my part, no extra effort on my part. So develop a habit with discipline, and then you have a habit, and then you do it again. So I think it's the habits that separate successful people from unsuccessful people. And I don't want to turn this into a Tony Robbins thing. I'm giving you effective, actionable stuff with, I hope, no fluff in the middle of it. But discipline triggers those authority tripwires, MACCI. And I think it shows itself in strange ways in conversations. If you woke up earlier than everyone in the room, you ate healthier than everyone in the room, and you were physically healthier than anyone in the room, or went to the gym more than anyone else in the room, would you behave differently if you knew that you were on top? It shows itself in strange ways, and other people can feel it. I'm not going to claim to know how. We've been studying the brain for a long time. I went to Harvard for neuroscience, and we still don't know where memories are stored. We pretend a little bit, but we don't know. I think it's a mystery, and it's okay to say that we don't know. Sometimes I don't know is the most intellectually sound answer that we can give to stuff. So we have confidence, discipline. Next on the list is leadership. And I'm just going to touch briefly on this. There's a whole lot of people way smarter than me that talk about it. Chiefly, Cesar Millan, I think, has written the best book ever written on leadership. He is the dog whisperer. If you've ever seen that television show, he's not a leadership expert, but I think he accidentally wrote the best book I've ever read on leadership because he wrote it to lead a dog. And it sounds really cool that I'm kind of tying all this together with the mammalian brain. I literally just thought of that like 30 seconds ago. So he wrote this entire book to lead a mammalian brain. There's no other leadership books on how to lead a mammalian brain. So this thing right here, this is our human brain. On the outside, mammalian brain is all right here. This is lizard, mammalian, and human. This is where our decisions are made. His book is called How to Be the Pack Leader, I think, or Being the Pack Leader or something like that. And there's a quote in the book I think is the most profound ever, and we're going to talk about it in just a few seconds. But all I'm going to say on leadership is do your best to live the role model mentality, to where I'm living as a role model, not while I'm on camera, but while I'm off as well. Like, aside from me saying crazy, stupid stuff to myself when I'm putting coffee into the Keurig machine, if there were cameras here in the house, you would still see the role model behavior. You would still see whatever I'm teaching, whatever I'm suggesting, I would still be the same person off camera. I'm exactly the same here as I am with my kids or anybody else, that I try to live that way forever. I mean, just because that's what my mentor told me to do when I was younger. So next is the culmination of all the things that we're talking about is technically leadership. If you're really good at persuasion, then you're a leader, because there's a massive difference between the leader and the person in charge. Massive difference. So motivate other people by identifying what motivates them first. So next and finally on the list is gratitude. I'm just going to cover 8 quick bullet points here. Number 1, try to keep a gratitude journal. I don't. I spent many years doing it though, and it definitely helped. Try to smile more often. From a physiological, psychological perspective, this actually does increase levels of oxytocin and dopamine and tricks our body into feeling happier. And watch inspiring videos that will remind you of the good in the world, because the news cycle is about fear and potential threats. This is why you hear one neighborhood's water supply is absolutely poisoned with lethal poison. We'll tell you which neighborhood right after this commercial break. Everything in the media is about something might be dangerous to you. So they're triggering the fate model. Everything you look at in the media triggers the fate model. And why do they do that? It's not a news organization, it's a corporation. Their entire goal is to make more money, and they're competing. So the moment, and when I'm writing my books, like I don't know if you know this, but I write fiction. I write fiction books about mind control and hypnosis and stuff. They're being made into a Netflix series right now. But when I'm writing that book, every page that I'm writing, I imagine that you're going to be sitting there somewhere cozily with this book. You're going to be reading the book, and your phone's going to vibrate with an Instagram notification or a Facebook or whatever. And whether or not you pick the phone up is a result of my writing, whether or not I did a good job of writing. But that's also the goal of the media. They're competing with your phone's notifications, and they have to trigger your fear response and novelty response in order to do it. Fear and novelty both manufacture focus. And in order to do that, they will do everything they possibly can. The final thing that they'll do to make you feel good in the news, they'll have those occasional, hey, here's a puppy up for adoption, but that's not, they know that you're not getting a lot of dopamine from that. You get dopamine from feeling smart. And they'll trick you into thinking like you understand something or that you have something figured out. So they'll give you a piece of information like a woman was found dead today after reportedly having an argument with her boyfriend. And your brain puts those things together, and unconsciously you feel smart for, oh, I bet I know what happened. The argument with the boyfriend was 6 years prior, and the boyfriend's actually dead, and the story is way different than you think. But they make you feel like you've got stuff figured out, and that gives you a little boost of dopamine. So they'll give you some clues to make you tie it together at the beginning, and then when they come back from the commercial break, they'll confirm exactly what you thought was true. And then you say, I love this news channel. I really like this news provider. They confirm my beliefs and they trigger all of my fear responses. So next is enjoyment. Oh, sorry. The final one on gratitude. Commit to at least one day a week where you're not allowed to complain about anything. Enjoyment is the most magnetic of all traits that ever exist because a lot of human behavior is contagious because of the tribe in the fate model. So if behavior is contagious, we're naturally attracted to enjoyment people who are enjoying themselves. And I think gratitude is a gateway drug to this enjoyment. And I think I'm going to tell you something that is typically taught by spiritual meditation yoga people who burn incense. I'm not one of those people. I did do 2 years of yoga. They have yoga for special warfare and special operations people on the base where you do yoga with your like 40 pounds of body armor on and stuff. It was called combat yoga. It's actually pretty neat. But there is something called a vision board. Show of hands. Is anybody familiar with a vision board or what that is? Okay. I'm going to rewrite that for you. The reason that I see white pickup trucks everywhere is because I have one. The reason you see your make and model of car everywhere is because you have one. Vision boards are designed to program and teach the dog in your head. That's the reason that they exist. But the only way to really get something into the unconscious part of our brain is repetition. Like if I was to teach you a class on mind control and brainwashing, if I was to sum those up in one word, it would be repetition. Brainwashing in one word, repetition. You notice how I'm repeating that? So, what this vision board is doing is communicating images to your animal brain, and it's going to give you some feelings. What I would suggest that you do, and of course, this is not some vital piece of the course, and I'm telling this, I didn't plan on saying this, but get you a big ass TV or one of those giant digital frames that you can hang up from like Amazon that's got where you can put pictures in there. Put your vision board on one of those and keep it on in your office or your living room all day. Play a PowerPoint through your computer to the TV and put it on a loop all day long, every single day. I can promise you the reason that they work, there may be some spiritual one that I don't know about, but the reason they work from a biology perspective is that your brain is hardwired to start looking at things that it repeatedly sees as important. So look at a vision board once a day. It might be a little bit important, but you're seeing it for 6 hours a day out of the corner of your eye. Then it becomes important to the part of your brain that Marcel was talking about, the reticular activating system, the RAS. And the RAS is a flashlight. I mean, you think of it like the RAS is a flashlight for your brain. It shines the light on whatever it thinks is important. It drives your focus. So in a dark room, the RAS is a flashlight. So let's talk about the authority behavioral assessment. Actually, we'll take a quick 5 minutes. I see some people doing PP behavior. So we'll take a quick 5 minutes and we'll come right back. I'm going to show you this assessment. We're going to go over. So we'll have another course on Monday. If you can't make it on Monday, I'm still going to send you a video of it. And I promise we'll deliver this whole thing. I've never done this thing online, so I didn't know how long it was going to last. Planned for 6 hours. It's probably going to be 8. So we'll keep going tomorrow, but I want to introduce you to the authority behavioral assessment tonight. We'll go through it question by question. I want to show you what it is and what it's designed to do as soon as we come back. And then we will wrap for the evening with the authority assessment homework for just to do the authority assessment and the other assessment where we're talking about the environment, time, appearance, social, financial. We're coming right into that after the 5-minute break. And I'll see you in a second.
Chase, are you talking about Monday or Sunday when you say tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Sunday. Sorry,
Sunday.
I keep thinking it's Sunday. Yes.
Okay, because,
tomorrow.
good, because Monday I have to be at work. This is great.
Okay.
This is great. Tomorrow is awesome.
All right. Thanks, Judith.
Thanks.
And we'll get a time. I'll get you guys a time. It may be in the morning tomorrow.
Okay.